Welcome to our marathon. Once upon a time, an evil queen cast a powerful curse that trapped everyone in our world. Then one day the curse was broken, and then magic came to our world. And then they went to Neverland, Oz, Everendale, Queens of Darkness, Camelot, and Queens of Darkness wasn't really a place, and Underworld. And uh, now we're facing a war against the evil queen and Hyde and lots more evil, and the land of untold stories has come to our world, and where every person's story needs to be told. That's once upon a time. Welcome to our marathon. um no one cares, but since it's been kind of a habit for our marathon, seconds early for YouTube, and I didn't check for Facebook. It was probably 10 seconds early or on time, but I was not late, so that's all that matters. I was ready to go a minute early, and I just chose to wait and wait and wait, and I'm like, I'll start 20 seconds early for YouTube. Now, I've watched a lot of um things on YouTube lately of the algorithm and stuff that has been changing for 2026. One advice I had was to make the first 10 seconds interesting for the viewers. Anyway, I am so sorry though, because I hate repeating myself, and I don't want to say hello twice. And so for those on YouTube, sorry you had to watch 10 seconds of silence. Hopefully you didn't click off. Um I usually stay silent because I want to get Facebook's live stream started. And then once I get the signal that Facebook is on, then I will start talking. So anyway, I'm sorry for the 10 seconds of silence. Anyway, I don't know. I guess instead of saying hello, I could just talk and say, "Hey, YouTubers, just hold on a second." That's what I could say, I guess, or say, I don't know. That might not be interesting either. I don't know, but like to keep you guys hooked, I don't know. There was four people, but now as I'm saying that, there's zero. Anyway, um, um, so yeah, once upon a time marathon. Well, we got 8 minutes before we get started, but yeah, I hope your day's going great. And guess what? Usually in past live streams, I'm usually a little unprepared in some way. Well, I got my headphones plugged in, and I pulled up Disney Plus before the live stream, so my episode's ready. Everything's ready. Last week I was ready as well, but remember last week we were watching a special episode on YouTube. I forgot about that, and that's what caused us to be late last week. No special episode today, all because we started the season last week. So it's like we're in the middle of the season now, so no specials. We only have one left, and that's at the end of the season. So, we don't have to worry about that for a while. We can just start right into Disney Plus or DVD, whatever you have. The first episode title we have today is The Other Shoe. It's the untold story of Cinderella, where she will turn romance into revenge. That was the catchphrase for the trailer that I put in the post. So we get a Cinderella episode. Now I bet you're confused because Cinderella is not an untold story. She was in season 1. Her story was told. She was forced to give Rumpel her firstborn child, but then Emma made a deal with him, and and she fulfilled that deal when she found Rumpel's son in season 2. So anyway, yes, Cinderella's story was told, but the only thing that was told was that Rumpel killed her fairy godmother and it was Rumpelstiltskin who sent her to the ball. And that's all we saw, because then we jumped to after the events of the first movie. All we saw was her going to the ball. We didn't see they don't have any flashback of Cinderella's parents dying or her stepmother forcing her to do chores around the house. They don't have that. We won't see that in the show, but from the point of the movie where they get an invitation to the ball and the stepmother doesn't want Cinderella to go, we get that all the way to putting the shoe on putting the glass slipper on her foot. So basically, we're gonna get the rest of her original story. That's what we're gonna go from getting the invitation to the ball to her putting this to the prince putting the slipper on her foot. We'll get the whole rest of the Cinderella story. Because in season 1 we didn't get that. We just saw her go. We just saw Rumpelstiltskin get her ready for the ball, and that was it. The rest of the flashback from season 1 jumped years later when they were already married and they were about to have a kid. So like we pretty much jumped to the sequel. So yeah, so Cinderella, we're gonna get the rest of her original story. And then we haven't seen her stepsisters. Again, her stepsisters weren't there when she was getting ready for the ball. So it's like we need to see more of her stepmother and stepsisters. Um, so yes, it is the untold story of Cinderella. And even though her story was kind of already told, there's pieces missing to the story. So it's still an untold story nevertheless. Then, it's called The Other Shoe. So yeah, Strange Case is our follow-up episode. And that's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde episode. We never got a flashback of them. So that will be cool. One man, two personalities, but there's one final twist. Mr. Hyde is not the villain. Plot twist. So maybe Jackal has some evil in him? Maybe Jackal's the evil queen? Anyway, not the evil queen, but you know what I mean. When Regina separated herself as the evil queen? Maybe Jackal, is evil. Anyway, I know this, but, for anyone watching for the first time who doesn't. Anyway, comments say, hi, Mom. All right, well, we're 6:56. We're still a couple minutes away from starting, but, all right. And I should talk about our last episode. Our last episode of the night, after we watched Cinderella, after we watched Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, we get our third and final episode of the night. Is finally, because I've been hinting that Aladdin and Jasmine were coming. We only saw Aladdin in the first scene of the not pilot, first scene of the first episode of the season. Where we find out he's a savior and he has the shaky hand that Emma has. He has a future battle that he's gonna die in. Anyway, that was all we got. Usually, the first episode of the season is only like one flashback scene, and that's it. They don't do a full entire episode of a flashback. But anyway, that's one. That's one. That's one scene. Sorry, had something caught my throat for a second. But yeah, so seasons. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot. We're finally gonna get Aladdin and Jasmine. Is basically what I'm gonna say. Oh boy, but yeah. So yeah, Cinderella, Jacqueline, Mr. Hyde, and finally Aladdin and Jasmine. It's kind of funny, but in the trailers, so they tease Aladdin's coming in a season for the first episode. They tease that he's coming, but we only get him in one scene, and so then the audience wants to hear more of him. And episode 2 comes along, no Aladdin and Jasmine. But then again, they're in the trailer, so you're disappointed. Then episode 3 comes along, they promise Aladdin and Jasmine are going to come right after Cinderella. But then, boom, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde episode, they trick you again. They tease you and trick you again. They didn't say he would come in. They didn't say they would come in episode 4, but they said they were coming in the trailer of Cinderella. And then Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, they say literally two, because back when the show was on the air, there was one episode a week. So, if Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were going to come the next week, it would be 2 weeks for Aladdin. They said in 2 weeks it would be Aladdin and Jasmine. And we're like, you better not lie to us the 4th time, because they lied in episode 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess the 5th time. They hope you don't lie to us for the 5th episode, right? And after Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, they made it a full-on Aladdin and Jasmine trailer. And then we got that on episode 5. So, whoo, they delivered on their promise. So, yes, we have to get through Cinderella, then Jekyll and Hyde, then we'll finally get Aladdin and Jasmine. So, Aladdin and Jasmine will be near the end of the night. Then once their story is told, that will pretty much wrap everything up, So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. That now that I kind of talked about each episode, it's 6:59. Again, just like when I started the live stream, I was ready to go now or a minute early. I'm ready to go now, but we'll try to wait a minute. If you're not ready to go, if you're not ready to watch, let me tell you. Our timestamp is 43 minutes and 48 seconds if you're watching Disney Plus. We do watch recaps. We do watch the previously on Once Upon a Time stuff. So make sure you start at 0 seconds and don't skip that. We watch recaps. So make sure your timestamp's at 0, no matter which streaming platform you're using. But Disney Plus, there's 43 minutes and 48 seconds left on the time cards. So you better see that on yours. On Disney Plus. If you're watching Hulu, something else, it's different because Disney Plus has their own separate credits at the end. But, just make sure it's at 0 seconds. That's all I'm going to say. And with that, I'm going to get started because I got my headphones and I'm ready to go. And it's 7 o'clock. So we're going to start on time tonight. No more. We're not starting late at all. well, I've been good at not starting late with the live stream, but I have been starting late with the episodes. So lately. So luckily tonight that's not going to be the case. Now that it's 7, I'm going to give a countdown. Do not push play till I say now. Okay? Not when I say 1, when I say now. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Now. Let's once upon a time. Wow, we get flashback. We get a recap of season 1 where Emma helps Cinderella give birth to her child during the days of the curse, you know? See, gave Cinderella her ball gown, and that was nice. We got a little flashback of season 1 there, not just season 6. But yes, remember what Hyde said. You have to ask yourself as the savior, does helping them exactly what causes your story to end? So anytime Emma saves a happy ending, is it going to cause the final battle to happen even closer? Like any, when you have a vision of the future and you try to avoid it, you realize avoiding it is what's causing it to happen. So anyway, that's what Hyde's saying. So and whatever Emma does, she can't have, it could be causing it to happen in the first place. So it looks like not really a plot twist. Regina is going to give Hyde lasagna. You was if you were wondering what was under that cloth, it was a lasagna. The evil queen beat Hyde. Hyde, I don't know has ever had lasagna, and the evil queen gave him something else. The evil queen beat Regina to it because they're talking to Hyde in his jail cell. Yep, Regina's upset because the evil queen made a deal with Hyde first. They wanted to get some information about the, double gainers and stuff. Because Hyde knows that. He knows what it's like to be a double gainer. He's the exact copy of Jackal. So you know what's funny? I didn't know a fairy tale of Jackal and Hyde existed until once upon a time. And then I looked up some information and it turns out to be something like it's a real fairy tale. Disney has not adapted it, but other people have, like Golden Films and stuff. They do fairy tales as well. So Cinderella has not showed up. Hey, look, it's a nun maid or something. I just saw. Anyway, Cinderella. So that's funny. That's funny. Okay, two things I want to say here. Ella, we haven't seen her since season 1. So it's nice for her to make a cameo. And Alexandra is no longer a baby. She's grown up a little bit. And two, and two, Hook didn't want to babysit. He says, "No, no, no, I'm not good with kids." And Ella completely ignores him and just says, "Here, babysit my daughter." When you said no, but then Hook is actually good with kids, as we can see. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's probably planning to have kids with Emma in the future, just so you know. Yes, that is true. If Ella if if Ella if Ella could get a happy ending, then anyone can. That means anyone. So stepmother, stepsisters can get a happy ending. Anyway, and and Ella did ask about Hook and how he was doing with Emma, and you know they're taking it slow. They're taking it slow. They've been together for like seasons, and they still haven't put on the ring. They still haven't. tied it with a ring yet. We're gonna get a Captain Swan wedding, guys. So prepare yourselves. Anyway, you know what's funny? The stepmother is upset that Ella's not working hard enough. That was noted as I was talking. This is the stepmother from. Mm, well, this is the stepmother from the from the Disney cartoon version, because you notice her hair is all gray and white, and it's all poofed up into like a giantness. I don't know what that's called. That's a hairstyle that I've only seen in Cinderella. Anyway, and then the live action version, she's not like that at all. They changed her completely. When they do other live action movies like Gaston or anything like that, they try to do a copy and paste. But with Cinderella, they did not do that. Why did they should what they did with Cinderella, I know it was still somewhat like the movie, but like they made it a lot different. And that's what they should have done with all their live actions. A copy and paste is like I know you're trying to make money, but that's what makes all the live actions not that great. Once Upon a Time is way better at this because with every live action, they just make their own plots, twists and turns. Like to have a Rumpelstiltskin be the fairy godmother would have been great in a Disney live action. Anyway, yep. It's kind of funny. In season one, her name was Cinderella. It was kind of a last minute decision for season six to have it be Ella for this movie. They were trying to go by the cartoon is the thing. But cartoon, her name is actually Cinderella. But anyway, then the live action, her name was Ella. And they're trying to incorporate that she was being teased and wrongfully named. So they wanted to change it to Ella. But in season one, it was Cinderella. Wow. So even in the past, Cinderella or Ella, sorry, I'm not an evil stepsister. Ella, um, when you grow up as a little kid and you get into Disney princesses, you call her Cinderella though. It's kind of sad how little girls treat her name. It's Ella. It's Ella, people. It's Ella. But anyway, Ella knew about the land of untold stories. Funny how she never went there because she, obviously didn't in season one, according to season one, being in part of the first curse. There's our answer. Did you hear that? In the recap special last week, they said we were going to find out what happened to Dopey because he turned into a tree and he was never seen again. Well, plot twist: Grumpy got him out like weeks ago because they don't want to wait around for the heroes to do anything. So they figured out how to get him out, and he got his master's degree in Boston, as the writer said. So there you go. You found out what happened to him. It just was mentioned. It was a bomb drop. It's nice we're getting a lot more Archie this season because we haven't really seen him. We haven't seen Dr. Hopper in like what seasons? Or he's only made one episode cameo appearances before season six. So wow, how Emma flops on the couch like that. She goes from behind the couch and flips over and upset. That's kind of cool. Yeah, listen to Archie. You could walk out that door, get hit by a bus, but that doesn't stop you from walking out the door. You know? Yeah, Emma's kind of sad because she's scared of fighting another day. She's scared of getting ran over by a bus, metaphorically speaking. And, she gets to fight for everyone's happy endings. Mhm. She fights for everyone's happy endings, and then she doesn't get hers because she's meant to die in the final battle. So it's sad. All right, off this final battle subject. It looks like Thomas, Cinderella or Ella's. Even I was a kid growing up and thinking her name was Cinderella. Anyway, um, that's a funny gag right there. Um, but yeah, Thomas comes out and tells and finds out his wife is missing, and Emma, being a close relationship with Ella in season one during the curse, she's gonna be a friend and find her with her shoe. Like, remember the glass slipper that only fit Ella. Um, it's kind of a gag to the fairy tale itself that she's gonna use a shoe to track her because it has her DNA in it and stuff or something. And she's gonna put a location spell on it with her shoe, not with her glass slipper, but with her tennis shoe, like tennis shoe from the real world. Ooh. So yes, that is a good tactic. Listen to Regina. Think if you want to try to think like the devil, for example, when you want to tear families apart, you look for the cracks that are already there and you try to exploit them. So if you want to try to think one step ahead, think like that. So Regina knows that the evil queen knows that her that she the Regina and her sister, the Wicked Witch, right, don't have a good sisterly bond right now because of Robin's death and blaming her for it, and you know, so that's a crack, and Regina and the evil queen has a way of exploiting that and probably working with the Wicked Witch so that she'll choose one sister over the other. She thinks the evil queen's a better sister than her counterpartner, Regina. So anyway, so Regina's gonna talk to her sister. Hopefully she chooses good and not the evil queen. Because the Wicked Witch is on a redemption arc and we don't want it all destroyed. Well, Captain Hook and Henry had a good sword fight with sticks. Anyway, now they're gonna follow the shoe that will lead to Cinderella. Every shoe belongs to a foot. Gus turned into a human, of course. That's what happened in the movie. But I thought the mice turned into horses, not coachmen. Hmm. Looks like the coachman walking her into the ball. Yeah, it is true. Rumple's not a fairy godmother. She's kind of like a fairy godfather. This is how Snow White and Ella met. Now, in the flashback of season one, we jump years later and they've already established that relationship. Now you know how they met. See, there are some plot holes that were left in season one. So that's why Cinderella's an untold story. Yeah, that seat's taken. Yep, 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 yep. Because like Ella's like, see that prince over there? Not all princes are stuffy. And he's like, do you think he might be charming? Like cute, charming? But like because Snow White already has that nickname for her husband, she's like, nah, that seat's already taken. Sorry, go have fun. Yeah, this is a fairy tale land, so I think the prince would believe not if Rumpelstiltskin, or even if you were to lie and say it was your fairy godmother, he could believe it. If it was the real world, I can see why that is. But this is flashback fairy tale land. So yes, Ella and the prince have finally met at the ball. Well, Ella is from this world. She's from the Enchanted Forest, but she's not a princess. She was a maiden at her stepmother's house. But yeah, Prince is okay with that. He's gonna make her a princess. We know that they get married and that she gets pregnant right before the curse. Ella's watching her stepmother. I mean stepsister. One of her stepsisters talking to the prince. Ella's kind of wow. Plot twist. Remember how the so okay, here's kind of something interesting. In the movie, in the cartoon movie, this didn't happen. Um, the stepmother, she didn't know that was Cinderella. She didn't know that was Ella. But Ella and the stepmother never had a conversation at the ball because the stepmother didn't recognize her, right? But Ella, which she didn't. She didn't know that was Ella, but she assumed that she was like a servant girl and she didn't belong here. And she was like, "They're laughing at you." And you didn't know it. Like Ella saw her step sister get a rose from the prince, and she thought the prince was cheating on her or something. Well, they just met, so it wouldn't be called cheating yet. Anyway, that's not what happened. But anyway, that's what Ella thinks. And she, right before running away, the stepmother tries to prove the point that the prince and the stepsister are just laughing about her, and anyway, and that he didn't love Ella at all. Anyway, and anyway, everyone and stepmother makes it seem like everyone's laughing at her except for herself. So anyway, Ella's leaving the ball early. Anyway, what just happened as I was talking about Cinderella? Charming came into Rumple's shop wanting to know more about his father, and Rumple has the information on a card, but he needs to make a deal for it. There's a certain coin that belonged to his father. Anyway, and Charming made a deal with it. Made a deal with Rumpelstiltskin, and that was the end of that scene. We don't know what the deal was, what he had to do for Rumple, but that was it. Anyway, yes, we're gonna find out what happened to Charming's father in this season. Like anyone cares. Ella's about to go to the land of untold stories, but then her stepsister, who's not a wicked stepsister, is stopping her. Plot twist. Wicked. Yep. So plot twist: the stepsister is not a wicked stepsister. I think this is Drizella. I don't know. I don't know which is which. One of them is a wicked stepsister, and then the other one is not. The one that's not, that's talking to Ella right now. So plot twist. So one of the stepsisters wasn't a wicked stepsister. She was only putting on an act because, she wanted to please her mother, and her mother was very forceful. Like, how she forced Ella to sweep the floors. Anyway, she's forcing her stepsisters to be wicked. Um, pun intended for the wicked films. But anyway, Clorinda. So there's no Anastasia or Drizella here. That's they're not going by the Disney version, but they look like the Disney version. Clorinda, and I don't know what her other stepsister's name is. That Ella just said this. Do you know how it feels when all your happiness is a lie? Emma knows from experience. She's facing a lie. All her happiness is a lie because she's meant to die. And so like Emma kind of sympathized with Ella on this. And she can't use her magic to stop Ella because whenever she thinks about the death of her life, she can't her magic's out of control and can't use it. Oh, Regina and the Wicked Witch are about to have another fight because Regina knows that she's working with the evil queen. Yeah, that was not good. Regina and Wicked Witch are still at odds about Robin's death. It's your fault. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, and then the Wicked Witch is like, "You split yourself in half. That's your fault that the evil queen came to me. Blame yourself." Here's a little spoiler. Wow. And the evil queen's just dancing out of gloat. So she just said that I am much your mother as she is to Henry, and trying to give her advice to be self respect and straight and forward, blah, blah, blah. Henry's not listening to her, obviously. But anyway, she is true. She has one point right. She is just as much of Henry's mother. Henry has three mothers now. Anyway, anyway, anyway. Wow, Belle gave charming advice. Gave charming advice, and Emma's sitting on the road. Ugh. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Catch up to speed. Um. So the evil queen, she knows about Emma being the savior and that she's saving people. She doesn't know about the death part, but like Jafar, knowing about the death of saviors. Emma kind Regina knows a little bit. And she's like, "You have to keep saving people." And Regina knows that Emma's struggling, has issues, and shaking her hand. And so her evil queen's trying to put that to use and spoil that Cinderella story's not going too well. And so it was kind of sad. And then she threw them out of the town as if they were off the chessboard, and giving them an idea of what that felt like was throwing them out of the town. So they're just out of the town lines. And anyway, Emma, Hook, and Henry are going to try to find a way back in, but since she can't use her magic, she has to go old school and pretend she's a Bells Bonds person and go back, and find Ashley or Ella. Ashley's her curse name. And then, Belle gave charming advice about fathers and sons and how they needed each other. And so I'm surprised Belle has wisdom like that, because she's avoiding her child from being with his father, Rumpelstiltskin. They're just breaking up and divorced at the moment. But you know, maybe they'll figure something out. And the stepmother is about to knows about the glass slipper and is going to break it. Ella broke a secret just like Snow White. She was not supposed to tell the stepmother where her stepsister went. And yeah, and the funny thing about the stepmother is that she was threatening to break her glass slipper, and Ella chose her own happy ending over the stepsister's happy ending. And the stepmother broke the slipper anyway, and so you should have not told her where the stepsister was, because now you betrayed her. The stepmother sister lied. The stepsister lied. She lied about being injured, and the yep, Ella fell into the trap. She went into the barn where Jacob was, the footman, and that's where she found her stepsister, looking like she was injured. And when she took the band-aid off, she wasn't. and then now she has a gun pointed at her face by the stepmother. So yeah, Ella's in danger. And it doesn't look like it's gonna end well unless Emma can stop it. Thomas. So remember, Snow White got tracking smell from Red Riding Hood when they were alone together. So she knows she's like a wolf. She has wolf scent smell. You know, Red gave that some of that to Snow White, so she knows how to track people down like a wolf. And so Thomas, knowing this, she Snow White helps him find Cinderella or Ella. Prince Thomas knows his girl anywhere. He knows that she was the one at the ball. He doesn't need a glass slipper. He just recognizes her. That's a plot hole from Cinderella because when the prince recognized her, I know it was the footmen or the Dutch that went to try on the slipper and stuff, but he could have gone himself and then realized, "Oh, that's not her. That's not her. That's her." We don't need a glass slipper to prove who the person was. You would recognize her. Maybe one glimpse of what she looked like is not enough, but still. Sometimes after I see someone once, I have a hard time recognizing them the second time. Takes me a few times seeing them and casually knowing them to know exactly what they look like, but still, it's a possibility that that could have worked instead of the slipper, and that's what worked. He recognized her. And speaking of the stepsister that we thought was wicked but isn't, she's with the footman Jacob, and they're about to go to the land of untold stories. Wow. Wow. Stepmother's gonna kill Ella instead of Jacob or her daughter. Wow. So the stepmother decides not to use the gun on Ella. She drops the gun and decides to use her own pointy stick. Stab Allie. Ashley. Emma can't use her magic. Ashley has been stabbed and she's dying, and Emma can't use her magic to heal her. Emma has to think of Ashley and not herself. Forget yourself and go to work. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Forget yourself and go to work. Forget that you're gonna die and save Ashley's life. Because you're gonna die doesn't mean Ashley should. So she saved Ella's life. There you go. She used her magic, even though her hand is still shaky. They don't know that she's facing drama right now, though. They don't. Only Emma knows about this final battle thing. She's been keeping it from her family so far. So the evil queen was wrong. Wasn't a spoiler. Ella gets a happy ending. Same with her stepsister. Her one stepsister, anyway. The other one, I don't know. I think she's still wicked. Happy ending for the sisters and Jacob. We're in Dr. Frankenstein's garage. Remember Dr. Frankenstein? He's kind of like a scientist, just like Jackal is. He wanted to bring back the dead. Jackal just wanted to separate himself. So two scientists, is Jackal and Dr. Frankenstein, are a great combo. Like only Once Upon a Time does that. No other person has ever thought about putting Dr. Frankenstein and Jackal together. I mean, Dr. Frankenstein is a Disney movie. They made a Disney movie of Dr. Frankenstein. They should have thought of putting Jackal in that movie if they weren't going to make a movie of Jackal and Hyde itself. They should have put Jackal in that movie. Yeah, the world, as Regina put it, the world sounding great, world science, danger's office, whatever Regina said. That was a great way to put it together. Yeah, let's get this town back to normal. Let's not let's not deal with villains. See, she has prison clothes on. She's in jail now. The step the stepmother is in jail now, so she has prison clothes on and she's trying to do some community service. Cook is confused because, like, he's not from the real world, so he doesn't understand humor or sarcasm very well. Um, Granted, there have been sarcasm in the Camp Forest, but Emma was like, Emma was like, move, Emma with the help of therapy and Archie, um, um, therapy Doctor Hopper, and convinced Emma to let Hook move in with her. And Emma said, "Move in with me." She was brave enough, despite uncertain future. She was brave enough to have Hook move in with her, and she's just like, "You have to hope you don't walk out the door and there's a bus." And Huck's like, "What?" She means you just gotta hope that there isn't an obstacle or something bad happening. So Charming found out that his father was not drunk. He was stabbed. He was killed. He died by the hands of somebody. But Charming, the killer could still be out there, and Charming doesn't know who the killer is. What if it's one of our own characters? What if it's the evil queen? What if it's Hook? Are you sure you want to get revenge on those people? I don't think so. They're family now, practically. Hope's about to be family soon in this series. So Snow White's trying to be the hero here and prevent Charming from getting revenge and turning evil, blah blah blah, right? Don't get revenge on the killer. Focus on your family now. Don't focus on the family of the past. I mean, yes, killing's a law and they should be arrested for it, but like that was decades ago. That was 40 years ago, 30 years ago. So it's like 40 years ago, actually, maybe 50. I don't know. Decades old. It's a decades old crime, Just focus on the family you got now. Don't worry about the killer. Charming lies to Snow about burning this information, and then he decides not to. He decides to hold on to it. He's lying to Snow. He's not letting it go. He wants to find the killer. We're gonna find out what happened to Charming's father eventually, guys. Belle, who's at odds and aggressive with Rumpel right now, is choosing to listen to the soundtrack that Charming gave her because the deal was that, hey, you deliver this to Belle and I'll give you your information about your father. Anyway, Belle gave Charming advice and she didn't say she was going to listen to it. She just said, "Here, I'll take it. You can let him know I took it so that you fulfilled your end of the bargain." Anyway, Belle not not wanting to listen to it at first, 'cause she doesn't care what her ex-husband says. She's gonna listen to it anyway, and it's actually a good melody for their unborn child, I guess. The evil queen is frustrated because she can't destroy her better half, and she has a hard time waiting for these untold stories to play out because once they play out, then all of Storybrooke goes in chaos, and the evil queen can take over. And so her plan is the long game. She's not getting her hands dirty. She's sitting back and watching the untold stories do her plans for her. Anyway, but she's kind of stuck at a crossroad right now, and she needs Hyde for help. And Hyde can't do anything if he's locked up in an asylum. So, because they locked Hyde up. Um, and so, anyway, the evil queen unleashes his handcuff shackles, and she helps him escape with a little bit of magic. Funny, if people had magic in this world, you couldn't keep them in a jail cell because even without the key, they can use magic to unlock it. So I mean, like, how else do you put criminals away if they have magic, right? Anyway, Hyde doesn't though. Hyde, Jackal and Hyde are like the evil queen and Regina, but without magic. It's kind of interesting to look at it like that. Hyde doesn't have magic. Jackal does have magic, but Regina and the Evil Queen do. Anyway, Evil Queen is helping Hyde out by using her magic to help him escape, and Hyde is helping her out by, well, helping these untold stories play out and destroy the heroes like we want. Anyway, it's kind of funny. Yeah, in season one, we wanted the stories, everyone wanted their stories to play out, but they couldn't because they couldn't remember who they are. This time, they don't want their stories to play out, but they remember who they are and they're afraid that it's going to play out. And so anyway, it's kind of the opposite of season 1, right? It's kind of bringing the show full circle here. And it's going to last all season just like the first Chris did. So anyway, like I said, no more half season arcs, right? But anyway, yes, the evil queen and Hyde have escaped, and that's going to create a lot of havoc. But as of Cinderella, everyone lives happily ever after. Drizella, not Drizella, I guess. Just no, what's her name? I'm used to the Drizella and Anastasia version. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know. Okay, the stepsister that was wicked but only pretending to be wicked, and she's actually a good sister to Ella, except Ella ended up being the wicked sister in the end because she betrayed her trust, by telling the stepmother where she went, just for the sake of saving her slipper, which it broke anyway, so Ella should have not done that. Anyway, breaking her sister's trust, she tried to mend that relationship by stopping her death, And the stepsister's like, Ella, you said you were gonna fix this. And Ella's like, yes, I am. I'm here to fix it. I'm gonna stop the stepsister. I'm gonna stop our well, not our stepmother, because that's her biological mother. Anyway, I'm gonna stop our mother from killing you. Like, anyway. She did, but Ella got killed instead, And luckily Emma was able to fight against her final battle instincts and use her magic to, heal Ella. So yes, though the Count of Mighty Crystal did not get a happy ending, sadly, Ella got one. So like I said, in this show, half of the untold stories get happy endings and half of them don't. So expect every other episode to get a happy ending and every other episode to kind of be a sad one. Anyway, but that moves on to our next episode. It's the untold story of Jekyll and Hyde. One man, two personalities, but one final twist: Hyde is not the villain. So we're gonna find out what's going on. So if you want to know the timestamp, 43 minutes and 48 seconds, just like the last episode. Um, Disney Plus called season 6, episode 4, Strange Case. I hope you have the episode ready because I'm about to start. Otherwise, pause the live stream. And then if you're watching DVD or something else, just make sure you have it at 0 seconds because we do watch the previously on Once Upon a Time part. All right. I'm just looking at the comments before we start the next episode. Wahoo! The story of Cinderella. Aladdin and Jasmine. Someone put, yep, they're excited. Okay. All right, we're gonna start the next episode. It's the untold story of Jekyll and Hyde. All those comments are from my mom, by the way. All right, here we go. Okay, starting the countdown. Number, don't push play until I say the word now. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, now. Previously on Once Upon a Time. Here we go. Yep, Snow White and Charming want to be normal. They're tired of fighting evil. They're tired of adventures. They want to go back to normal life. That's all they ever want. Yep. And then Belle, obviously, we're getting flashbacks from the pilot from the first episode, not pilot. Ugh. I keep calling season 6, episode 1 the pilot. I don't know why. But anyway, no. The first episode of this current season, Belle left Rumple on the Temple of Morpheus to just separate and call their breakup for good, like I'm not being with you anymore. Bye bye. Anyway, luckily, we haven't seen them file divorce papers actually, but they have magic, so I guess they don't need to. They can magically poof themselves some married or something. But anyway, Rumple's trying to win her back with a haircut. The actor, fun note. The actor actually cut his hair before the filming of season 6, which made the writers upset and mad because he has long hair in the show. And so they're like, what are we going to do now? So this whole time, if you thought something was off with Rumple, they put a wig on him. And that's why he looked a little different than he did at the end of season 5, is they put a wig on him because they didn't want him to have his hair cut. After 3 episodes, they decided there was no point in hiding it, so they decided to have him get a haircut in the show. Rumple cut his hair in the show. So yeah, I mean, he can magically grow it back if he wants, technically. Rumple is very bad. Reason why we're Evil Queen. So Evil Queen and Hyde walked into Rumple's shop to steal something, and Rumple, he doesn't like giving things without a deal, and so he decides to choke Hyde to death, for not making a deal. And he can't kill Hyde because remember when Regina tried to kill the Evil Queen? It didn't work. So you can't kill your double gainer. You can't. You can't kill your double gainer. So so yeah, Rumple's forced to let him live because Hyde can't die. So Hyde has control. Remember, Rumple gave the town to Hyde. And so he's kind of the one in charge now. And Rumple has no choice but to do what he says, even though he doesn't have the dagger. Ru- um, Hyde has Rumple has no choice but to listen to what Hyde. Plot twist. So Hyde, Hyde, Hyde has control over the town now, and Hyde, Rumple has no choice but to do what he says because he can't kill Hyde, and Hyde, which means Hyde can take things as he please. I mean, there's fates worse than death, but it doesn't work on Hyde. And we get a thumbnail to London. I mean, a title sequence to London, so we know our flashback's going to take place in London. Snow and Charming made way too many breakfast pancakes that they have leftovers for a month. I want that breakfast. Put me in the show. Yep. Maybe you need to finish Jackal because he might be the villain. So Jackal and Hyde are from London before they came to the land of untold stories. Plot twist. They're from the real world. Wendy was from the real world. Bellfire went to the real world. They went to London. We have a lot of fairy tale characters from London. Um, However, it's London's always treated like a flashback, so it feels fairy tale like, and it's the United States that's the real world, I guess. I'm surprised anyone in London's not jealous that London's treated like a fairy tale. So this is before Jackal invented the serum to separate Hyde from from Jackal or evil from the good. And so this is back when he created the serum to turn himself into an evil version of himself, not separate him. Because remember in season 5 how there was how there was a potion that the guard that the what's his name, the bodyguard of Hyde used on Jackal a lot. The serum that didn't separate him, but turned Jackal into the Mr. Hyde that hate and know. Hate because we thought he was the villain. But anyway, yeah. So see, Rumple. Obviously, this London is a fairy tale land because Rumple, and it has it's kind of funny because it has the real world technology in it. But Rumple somehow, because Rumple can't look like this in the real world. There is no magic, right? And so it's like, how does he look so dark and like? And it's like, this is a plot twist to let you know that London is a fairy tale land and not a real world land. It's kind of interesting, honestly. So science all science needs is a little bit of magic. So if you're trying to do a science experiment and you create a hypothesis and everything, if it turns out your test results are a fail, maybe you need a little bit of magic because that's what Jackal just faced. He had a failed experiment, but then Rumple put a little bit magic into his serum to make it work. So anyway, so I guess London is a fairy tale land, and the United States is the real world. Belle Hook was about to hurt Rumple, and then Belle's like, "No, no, I got this." But Belle is not a damsel in distress. He could stand it. She could stand up for herself. Yeah. Well, see, Rumple, he might be a selfish ex-husband here, but he's trying. He doesn't want anything to happen to his child. So despite his verbal abuse, he's trying to protect Belle by putting a protection spell, forcing her to stay on the Jolly Roger and never leave. So that was good explaining on Snow's part. These people from the land of untold stories, well, they weren't here when the curse, when the curse created Storybrooke. They weren't here in season one, so they don't understand. And so this girl who's showing up out of nowhere asking Snow White, "What are you doing as a teacher? Why aren't you a princess?" And he's like, "Well, you don't know about the person that brought Storybook, right? Okay, let me explain this for you. Here's how she explained the curse. Pretty almost complicated, but simple. She said, I didn't always know I was a princess. Well, I did, but then I didn't, and then I did again. But when I didn't, I was a teacher, and when I did, when the curse was gone, um, I realized I really loved teaching, so I wanted to keep doing it, and that made the her teacher's aide smile. So if you're wondering, this teacher's aide is from the land of untold stories, and if you want to see her story play it out, stay tuned after we're done with Jacqueline Hyde. Doesn't that tell you who she is? Since you know where we're going after this, Aladdin and Jasmine. Anyway, plot twist. Grumpy is like, so he's making a granny's errand, for Jackal because Jackal's hungry and it helps him think if he eats. And Grumpy being grumpy, right? He's like, it better help you think, or you'll see my dark side. Ha! I think we already seen it. We see how grumpy you are. We seen your dark side. Hmm. So this is how Mr. Hyde got his name. Jackal tried the serum for the first time and became Mr. Hyde. And then And so, anyway, Mr. Hyde, being alive for the first time, he realizes that he looks different and he's not really the same. And that's only because he's parts of a man. He's not a man entirely. He's parts of a man. He's the scars that Jackal wanted to hide. And so, anyway, and hence the name Mr. Hyde. And that's how he got his name. That's how he got his name. So, this is the colleague that refused Jackal's offer. Mhm. The colleague has a real interest in Hyde, but not Jackal. That's funny. They're the same person. The Grumpy gave Jackal his dinner, his lunch or something, and he's like, "Now let us do what we do best." And he's like, "Okay, go ahead." And, because I we want to protect the Storybook from chaos, and Regina walks in saying, "Chaos has arrived," and Grumpy's like, "Let's dance, sister." You're funny, Grumpy. You're funny. You're a funny dwarf. Mr. Hyde is threatening Jackal and trying to show him what he could really do. The monster you made. You want to see what the monster you made can really do? Jackal should have never let Mr. Hyde out. That was a mistake. None of the students are brave. Henry used to be in this class, and now he's not. And oh yeah, she's also teaching at a high school now, not an elementary school. Henry's all grown up. He started in elementary, and now he's in high school. That's crazy. So so the Regina was, was surprised that the Rumple did not take on the Evil Queen's offer. And he's like, "Well, resisting the darkness. This is a new Rumple. Are you sure he's resisting the darkness entirely? Because why did he make himself a dark one again?" Mhm. Yes, yes. Jackal didn't even know that Rumple gave Hyde a name. He's like, "Wait, my other half, my evil version of myself has a name?" Like, I mean, the evil queen is not, her name is also Regina, but they call her the evil queen for a reason, so we know the difference between good and evil. Jackal has to have a name for his evil half, even though they share the same good name. I don't think so. We all know where that leads. Jackal and Hyde. We don't want him to play out. Jackal and Rumple have history together, obviously. And he's trying to torment Jackal by saying, Hyde is smart. Ha ha ha. And he outwitted you. That's why you failed. And Jackal's like, not this time. Rumple is really evil right now. He's frustrated that he can't be with Belle and he's letting it get to him. Anyway, anyway, luckily, even though the evil queen and Hyde trashed everything, Jackal was able to save some of the serum that could destroy Hyde. And so it looks like Jackal saved some of the serum that could destroy Mr. Hyde. And unfortunately, Rumple having insulted Jackal a little bit, Regina doesn't trust Rumple to hold the potion. And so anyway, she forces Rumple to use his magic from right there, like not take the potion from Regina, and Rumple being so furious, takes Jackal's heart out and threatens to crush it if Regina doesn't hand it over. Regina's she's the good parts of herself, so she's not going to be evil. She's not going to give in to the darkness. So she decides to give Rumple the potion, but Rumple insists that she just drops it on the dagger, so the dagger has the potion on it, and Rumple's dagger. And then likely Rumple, not being fully dark, doesn't crush the heart. She just throws it to Regina, and Regina gives it back to Jackal. But now Rumple has the serum on his that's poured on his dagger. So unfortunately, Snow White hasn't taught in years because of all the adventures they went on. So she hasn't taught since season one, so she's having a hard time figuring out how to teach the new students in her class, and to solve for X and answer the FX. I think she's teaching science. I think. Anyway, everyone failed the test because they don't like the way she teaches, and so she needs to realize that her old methods of teaching are season one curse built, and they're pretty boring, and that's why Henry skipped school a lot because it was the same boring lesson. But so Snow White needs to take a new approach and teach things in a way that Snow White would teach it, not Mary Margaret. She mentioned that in season five that she doesn't want to be Mary Margaret anymore. So teach like Snow White. Be a Snow White teacher, not a Mary Margaret teacher. Jackal is now spending time with Belle, which would be dangerous. Put Belle and Jackal together and hook. Hmm. Anyway, anyway. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Anyway, sorry, I'm just, I've seen this thousands of times, but it's still enjoyable. It's hard to commentary when I'm kind of enjoying this thing. But anyway, let's see, where were we? What were we talking about? Yeah, okay. Jackal spending time with Belle, which might not be a good idea. But yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna mention Hook was there, but he left Jackal and Belle alone. Yeah, so here's something interesting. So Hyde destroyed, from what we heard from Jackal, Hyde destroyed Jackal's true love, Mary. And Mary even confessed that she could never love Jackal in that way, you know? And so that would have probably hurt Jackal's feelings because she thought of the world with Mary. And, anyway, Mary doesn't love Jackal, but Mary loves Mr. Hyde. Hmm. Mary is now falling in love with Mr. Hyde. Little does she know that was Jackal's serum, and she's really falling in love with the evil parts of Jackal. So yeah, Mary has no idea that Mr. Hyde is Jackal and is kissing him. And anyway, she never said she would love Jackal, but she loves Mr. Hyde. Yep, I've been there, done that. Right, right. Not every girl's gonna like you, especially sometimes when I don't know. Yep. One thing that's a challenge for a girl, is that, I can't drive, so they have to drive. Um, and yes, and, like, I have other personal things that would probably prevent them from loving me, but anyway, there hopefully the right person will come along that will accept those things. Anyway, but yeah, if Hyde destroyed Jackal's true love, it's funny how he's spending time with Rumple's true love, because he doesn't have a high good opinions on Rumple. He kinda blames Rumple for it. So yeah, so plot twist: Hyde's running in the jungle. Emma and Charming, as sheriffs, right, are trying to put him back in jail again, but he escapes the custody and now runs into Rumple, and Rumple stabs him with the dagger. But remember, Hyde can't die, so even with the powers of the dagger, it didn't work. And Hyde switched the vials. Hyde switched the potions, so that that way Rumple, so that way the serum wouldn't go into Hyde. And so anyway, Hyde destroys the formula, and now Rumple can't steal it from him and kill Hyde. So anyway, oh well. Hyde stole the dagger from Rumple because Rumple can't kill him, so Hyde has more authority, and Hyde stole the dagger from Rumple, and now he's using the dagger to take him to Belle, which is not good. The students are disappointed because they failed their test, and Snow is upset. Snow's disappointed, I meant. So every action has an opposite reaction. See, Snow, I found a new way to teach. And this is what teachers can't do nowadays because from my mom being a teacher, they have to stay strict to a script, and it's frustrating. But look how teaching was back in the day in 2016, 10 years ago. Can you believe this episode actually aired like 10 years ago? Like this one, season 6, aired 10 years ago. The show itself is almost 15 years old. But this season aired 10 years ago. Anyway, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, so yeah, Snow White, the way she's teaching, the method she's using is instead of just teaching what's on paper, she's going to show it. Teaching Newton's law of every action has an opposite reaction. You don't have to just write it on paper and solve for X. You could just She has perfect aim. She never misses a target, and when she shoots an arrow, she hits the target, and she can use that as the opposite reaction lesson. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Hmm. Plot twist. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. So yeah, Rumpel and Hyde are at the Jolly Roger, and in flashback, was sleeping with Mary and turned back into Jackal in the middle of the night. So Mary found out it was the serum, and she learned that she would never love Jackal. She loves Hyde, but she would never love Jackal. And so frustrated that she technically accidentally fell in love with him, Mary went down to call for help. And Jack was like, "No, Mary, 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 wait, wait, wait," trying to talk to her, and he just pushes her out the window. As every person who's watched this show, sometimes you might think, was that an accident? But no, it looks like it was on purpose. It looks like Jackal wanted to kill Mary for not loving him, because just because you're heartbroken doesn't mean you should full on murder someone. Anyway, that is just red flag right there. This is why Mary never fell in love with Jackal or in the first place, is because there's that red flag. He would have killed her if he found out she never loved him. Anyway, anyway, anyway. So plot twist: Jackal's a villain because he killed Mary, and then he drunk the serum to turn himself back into Hyde. And then in the present day, he was about to kill Belle, and Belle, the new villain, of course. That's funny. So Jackal was trying to kill Belle to get revenge at Rumple. He kind of blames Rumple for Mary's death, and so for killing Mary, Jack's gonna kill Belle, and um and Belle, obviously made a way of her escape by stabbing him with a seashell and calling for Hook's help and running to the top of the ship, only to find out that she has a protection spell and she can't get out because of Rumple's help. Because of Rumple's spell. And Rumple can't unlift the spell because of the Dark One dagger that Hyde has. Anyway, well, Hook finally shows up at the last second before Belle has no choice but to die, and Hook saves Belle's life by killing Jackal. Hyde is upset that Jackal didn't succeed, and so Hyde is using the dagger to force Rumple to kill his ex-wife. But before Rumple has no choice but to listen to his command, Hyde dies. So wow, what of a chain of events. So plot twist: Jackal was the new villain. Hyde was never the villain. Jackal was, and yes, Hook stabbed Jackal just to save Belle's life. In return, that killed Hyde. There was one final twist: Jackal was the villain, and also, if you kill Jackal, Hyde dies. Nope, it wasn't the serum. Regina thought it was the serum, but she wasn't up to speed with the high switch of the vials. There's only one way to destroy one's double gainer by killing the original. The only way to kill the evil queen is to kill Regina. Yep, kill Regina. Plot twist. That's new. That is new. No wonder she's not in Emma's vision. It's not Regina who kills Emma. She died because she had to kill herself to kill herself. That's funny. Funny way. You can't kill the double gainer, but but you can, you can kill them by killing the original. Regina's the original. Jackal was the original. That's how High died. Camelot. We're getting mentions to Camelot now. What? Remember? Yeah, remember when Emma trusted Regina to get rid to try to help Emma get rid of the darkness? Now Regina's returning the favor. You know, do whatever Emma told Regina, do whatever it takes to get rid of the darkness, and if it doesn't work, destroy me. Regina's making the same promise to Emma. She's like, if I can't get rid of the darkness and I go all evil queen again, just like Jackal did. We all thought Jackal was the good one, but his capacity for evil, his agency of evil, still remained. And so, if Regina's not strong enough to choose the right, she's making the deal with Emma, saying, "Hey, if I'm not strong enough to stay on the right course, and I start doing evil again, you need to kill me or destroy me. Promise me." And Emma's like, "I promise." Like he does. She doesn't want to because Regina's her friend, but she promises. Belle and Rumple are having a fight. Why did you? Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get a flashback to Belle's question. Anyway, Belle is mad at Rumple because he wouldn't lift the protection spell, and she knows he was being controlled by the dagger. But why did you cast the spell in the first place? You know what could have happened if Jackal succeeded? What could have happened to the baby? Jackal killing Belle and the baby inside. You could have killed two lives that day. Or, Rumple telling Rumple it's not Rumple's fault. He was trying his best to protect his ex-wife, but anyway, what could have been worth all this destruction? Why did you go to Jackal in the first place? Rumple just didn't know that was the villain. So anyway, Belle, I think Belle is in the wrong. Like, yes, Rumple's has darkness, and he can't seem to choose the right at times. Yeah, like which is why you don't want to be with him anymore. I get that, but you don't know the situation. What would you need to realize? What would you do in Rumple's shoes? You would make better decisions, yes, but you didn't know Jackal was a villain. Maybe you would have gone to Jackal too to get the serum. Anyway, I think this is one time when Belle was in the wrong and Rumple was right. But their relationship is toxic anyway, so you kind of want Belle to be right. Anyway, Rumple in the flashback, got mad that Hyde Hyde, didn't complete his serum or get married or fall in love with him. You know, anyway, we learn in flashbacks that Cora and Rumple and Regina, they thought love was weakness and was a weapon. And Hyde, said he loved Mary and treating that like a weakness. Rumple was mad that Hyde was weak and kind of almost killed him and decided to let him live out the rest of his day in misery instead of killing him. So anyway, that's how that flashback ends. Yeah, Belle just said it. Don't you realize what would have happened to our son? Because, like, she's pregnant. If you kill Bill, you kill the baby too. Belle is upset because, you didn't need to put a protection spell. She doesn't need protection. She can take care of herself. She might be pregnant, but she's a tough person. Like, she's not a damsel in distress. She's like, Rumpel, I think you're just upset because you're just tired of seeing the man in the mirror. And Belle knows who he really is. He knows what kind of monster he really is. So she's throwing out threats. Yeah. So Rumpel throws a threat back at her, and Belle's like, you will come to me when that baby's born, blah, blah, blah. And Belle's like, threats are not going to make me fall in love with you again, Rumpel. Yeah. It's not gonna work, but it was an observation, Rumpel puts it. She's leaving that as an excuse of observation instead of a threat. Rumpel and Belle, they never mend their relationship ever. Beauty and the Beast, that's how it goes. So wait, Jasmine so not Jasmine, sorry. This girl, this teacher's aide, because you don't know that she's Jasmine yet. She's been Snow White's teacher's aide, right? Just kinda like my mom's a teacher's aide. Anyway, 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 um, she doesn't know what an apple is? Apples were in the fairy tale land. She has to know what an apple is. Come on. She's like, it's this world's thing, blah, blah, blah. Apples existed. Haven't you watched Snow White? Anyway, she was curious about what happened to the princess that this lady spoke of. And she pretends not to know. And he's like, well, I hope to meet her someday. Snow White says. Plot twist, we're gonna meet her. Oh, you're playing like season one curse. She's pretending to be Snow White's teacher's aide. You know. So this is the oracle that told Aladdin that he's gonna die. Remember, this is the oracle that told Emma that she's gonna die. Plot twist. So the oracle, we saw her in episode one when she gave Emma the vision of her future, right? Anyway, she's like, being on Team Jasmine, being on the Team Jasmine. Um, and being Jasmine's best friend, and because we've seen her with Aladdin, obviously. She's like, Jasmine came to Storybrooke to look for Aladdin, and the Oracle's like, don't worry, we will find, we won't stop looking till we find him. We will find him, Jasmine. Like, plot twist. That was Jasmine all along, working with Snow White as a teacher's aide. I was trying to hide that until that plot twist. But anyway, it was hard not to say her name because I'm used to calling her Jasmine, not just Snow White's teacher's aide. Anyway, so anyway, yes, but now I can say this. There were no apples in Agrabah. Is that what you're saying? How are there no apples in Agrabah? You can grow those in any land. I mean, it is a desert. I guess it'd be hard to grow plants and trees, but I seen Aladdin in the Disney movie steal an apple before, so they had apples. Maybe not in the Once Upon a Time's version of Agrabah, but still. Anyway, so yes, so that was Jasmine all along, and trying to hide this, right? Trying to hide that she was a princess and that she was Jasmine. She mentioned the story of Jasmine, and Snow White. At the end of the day, when school was over and Jasmine was about to go home, Snow White was like, I can't wait to meet that princess someday. Little does she know that's her teacher's aide. Anyway, so yes, they're searching in town for Aladdin, thinking he's in Storybrooke, and they're not gonna give up until they find him. Anyway, so that's a plot twist, and the oracle foreseen the future, and knows that Jasmine's gonna find Aladdin by prophecy. Anyway, so we're gonna see if she does in the next episode, because our next episode is the untold story of Aladdin and Jasmine. We're gonna watch that Like right now, it's 40. So this one's just 1 second different from the previous two episodes. It's 43 minutes and 49 seconds, not 48. If you're watching Disney Plus, otherwise it's different platform, something else. Anyway, DVD. Anyway, or Hulu. But anyway, yes. So just to kind of finish up talking about Jackal and Hyde for a minute, now we got the untold story of Jackal being the villain, and that also, since he's the original, you have to kill the original to kill the double gainer. So that's a definite plot twist. Regina has to kill herself to kill the evil queen. So anyway, so that's something to know for future episodes. Anyway, um, but yeah, sad what happened to Mary. She never loved Jackal. But there was a lot of red flags when it came to Jackal. A lot of suspicious talk and stuff coming from Jackal. Hyde had no red flags whatsoever, but they thought he was the villain. Anyway, he was kind of the villain for the last few episodes. And so I guess they were both villains. And so Regina's worried about turning back into a villain and, just hope that doesn't happen, right? And watching the rest of the show, I know it doesn't. So no, I'm sorry for spoiling new people out there, but anyway, but now we're done with the double gainer episode. We focused so much on studying what it was like to have two selves, an evil side and a good side. Now we're gonna stop focusing on that and focus on the death of the saviors. Okay. So yes, that's what this season is mainly about. The reason why if you were expecting Hyde to stay around for the entire season, and if for some reason you haven't listened to me and you didn't know this was not a half season arc, if you were expecting Hyde to stay around until episode 11, I am sorry to disappoint, but he died only 4 episodes in. This is a testament to you guys to know that this is not a half season arc. Each episode is like a whole different story. We spent 11 episodes in Neverland. Imagine only one episode in Neverland, one episode on Oz, one episode in Frozen, one episode in Queens of Darkness, one episode of Camelot, one episode of The Underworld. Anyway, that would have been a lot to handle in just one episode each, right? That's what we're dealing with. Instead of a whole half a season on the Count of Mighty Crystal and a whole half a season on Mr. Hyde, we only get one episode of each. Now, Hyde, on the other hand, was here for 6 episodes. The season finale and then the first 4 episodes of season 6. But his story wasn't fleshed out until the episode we just watched. So that's why. Anyway, yeah, like I said, even if they're on the show for more than one episode, they get they get one focused episode on them. So if that makes sense. Anyway, so now we're gonna get the one focused episode on Aladdin and Jasmine. So again, 43 minutes, 49 seconds. I hope I give you enough time to get the episode ready. Otherwise, pause the live stream. But we're gonna get started. Let me just check the comment section really quick. Nothing. Okay. All right, we're gonna start this Aladdin and Jasmine episode. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, gonna start. Okay, here we go. We're gonna find out the secret of the saviors in 3, 2, 1, now. Into the future, and she's gonna die. She knows she's gonna die. She's hard. It's hard for Emma to start a family with Hook because she knows she's gonna die. She doesn't want Hook to be a widow. She doesn't want to leave Hook wifeless, and she doesn't want to. This is why she doesn't want to be with him. Almost, they did decide to move in together, but one thing that's holding this back is the vision of the final battle. If you knew your spouse was gonna die, or let's just say you have a girlfriend and you want to have a future with them, but you know they're gonna die. Would you still want to like marry them, be their boyfriend, whatever? Good question, right? If you know they're gonna die, like shortly after you just started your relationship. Anyway, many years ago in the city of Agrabah, we've been to Agrabah before. Remember the Wonderland spinoff? Agrabah was in that. So for those who didn't watch Once Upon a Time Wonderland, this might be your first time seeing Agrabah, but for those who watched the Wonderland show, it's not. Welcome back, Jafar. He was in the first episode, but other than that, we haven't seen him since the Wonderland show. Hi, Jafar. How's it going? It's a different actor. The reason why it's a different actor is the other one couldn't come back for the main series. After he finished the spin-off, he had other shows he had to do. So, Aladdin, who's a thief, remember he was just like Emma. Emma was a thief too. That's funny how they have those two things in common. So, she's Jasmine, the princess from from the palace. So Aladdin is a thief, just like Emma Swan, and he just saw Jafar kill three thieves, in Agrabah. So he's like, I hope I don't get caught, because then Jafar's gonna kill me and turn me into a rat. That's why this episode's called Street Rats, and that's Aladdin's nickname from the Disney movie, Street Rats. I don't buy that. You know that song, right? So in the movie, Aladdin meets Jasmine, and they go on a carpet ride. But in the Once Upon a Time show, Jasmine comes to Aladdin for help instead of the other way around. So anyway, so Jasmine, I don't know how she found out Aladdin was the best thief in the land, but she found him and needs help to steal something. Yep, the diamond in the rough. Remember the Cave of Wonders in the Disney movie? Touch nothing but the lamp, the diamond in the rough. Right. Anyway, so in Once Upon a Time's version of Aladdin, Jasmine, um, Jasmine. Sorry, I had to itch my nose. Jasmine, Jasmine needs help to steal the diamond in the rough, and he's using Aladdin to help him. And at first he refused, and it risked him getting caught. She decided to announce that there's a thief, catch him, arrest him, and Jafar would have turned him into a rat. But but anyway, luckily that didn't happen, and Aladdin agreed to go with Jasmine to steal the diamond in the rough. Anyway, that's the hourglass. Remember when Jasmine got trapped in an hourglass and almost died in there? Um, in the movie? That happens in Once Upon a Time too. Anyway, but in present day, Archie and Emma are having a fight about therapy and how it's supposed to work. And it's like, no, 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 I'm still having visions, so you're not helping at all. Don't tell that to your therapist. And yeah, I've heard many apps about therapy and how to get the right therapist and stuff. So go do that, whatever that is. Anyway, that's a good advertiser for the show. Um, Emma finds Jasmine on the run from the death of the Oracle, and Emma met the Oracle, so she knows it's the person who gave her a vision and of the entire future of her death, and wanted to get more answers. But now that the Oracle's dead, she needs to find the killer. And Jasmine, she only found Jasmine on the scene running, so they arrested her. She's handcuffed. See, they thought she was the one who killed the Oracle. So, yep. But at least she was able to be honest. She's not going to jail. Remember back in Once Upon a Time when Snow White was framed for murder and she went to jail. Same with the Regina in season two, and anyway. Emma has a superpower. I wish everyone had that. If we had people with superpowers on whether someone was lying or not, we would have real criminals in jail, not just people being framed. That'd be cool to have people like Emma. Wow, 2 Archies, 2 therapists. Woo! Okay. So the evil queen wants information about Emma, but as a therapist knows, you can't share information about your students. You got to keep it, sensitive. Anyway, Regina is, trying to force the truth out of him about Emma's visions. They want to let's be a team again, like old time's sake. Remember when Archie used to work for the evil queen and try to break Henry's delusions? Um, and then Archie also being weak and not being able to stand up to himself, failed and broke Henry's heart. But then in the end, he stood up and became a better man. And and obviously he listens better to his conscience better than season one, Archie. And he was cursed, so that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. He was cursed. It's not his fully fault. But anyway, Jiminy Cricket is now, standing up for himself, and he's way more developed as a character than he was in season one. So he refuses to Evil Queen, and Evil Queen ends up saying, "Fine, if you won't tell me about Emma's visions, then I'll find out myself by disguising as Archie." So imagine you have an enemy who's forcing your therapist to exploit all your personal information. And since your therapist refuses, your enemy disguises themselves as your therapist to get you to tell them everything personal about you that you don't want to tell anyone else. That's what's happening here. So the evil queen tries to get information out of Emma, and anyway, he tries to he act as if he's scheduling another session with Archie, and Emma's like, "Well, I don't need sessions anymore because I'm gonna try to find Aladdin. If he's alive, then maybe all saviors don't die, and then it won't matter to tell my family because the vision's lying and it's not a true prophecy. Maybe blah blah blah. If they find Aladdin alive because he was a savior, then maybe all saviors don't die." And so anyway, yeah, even though and she's even though she just said all that to evil queen, um, she doesn't need any more therapy, is what she's saying. But the evil queen still got what she wanted because she's mentioned saviors died, so now the evil queen knows, and Emma didn't know that she was disguised as her therapist, so that was a mistake. Jasmine and Aladdin are walking in the middle of a desert. Jasmine and Aladdin are fighting at odds in the middle of a desert. That's funny. And look, he's eating an apple. How did Jasmine not know what an apple was last episode? That's crazy. See, even once one time they said there was apples in Agrabah. Look at that. Yeah, I mean, Aladdin is a thief. Emma was too, until she became a Bell's Bonds person. She stole cars for a living. She stole watches with Neil. So the Cave of Wonders is an actual cave. It's not like the one in the movie where the monster comes alive and he says, "Who disturbs my slumber?" Look, there is a monster head, but it's not alive. There's a door under it. Anyway, sorry, it's a live action show. What do you expect? This came out before the live action movie did. So if you're wondering why they weren't able to live actionize this monster cave, you got to remember this was the technology before the live action Aladdin. This was technology from 2015, 2016. So that technology did not exist till COVID. Because Aladdin came out right before COVID started. Oh, Sesame! That's a common phrase for opening a secret door. If you listen to enough books and fairy tales. Yes, so much for stories, Aladdin. It didn't open the door. Oh, it did open the door, huh? Ooh. You just had to be patient. You had to wait. Now they can walk in. Find the diamond in the rough. Find it. Aladdin's gonna help Jasmine steal the diamond in the rough. Yep, because Aladdin's not in Storybrooke. His records are not there. That's not good. So here we go. Archie, evil queen disguised as Archie, followed Emma to her parents' house, and now she's forcing the secret out of her. And Hook even agrees, the one Emma's living with. So Emma's now telling the truth to her whole family. Yeah, so now Emma exploits the whole truth out, and everyone's fighting. And he's like, I'm your mother. Why'd you lie to me? I'm your father. Why'd you lie? You lied to me, sweetheart. Like Hook's lying. And Regina's walking away like she is excited. And you're like, ha ha ha, I spoiled the truth out. Evil Queen, that was not nice. Yeah, Emma did think that last week. She thought Regina was gonna be the one killing Emma. Regina's like, wait, am I? Is that mean my dark is coming back to life? Am I gonna stay off the straight and narrow and kill you? Regina's because she's not in the vision. But then again, you got to think about this. Maybe she killed herself to defeat the evil queen. Who knows, right? That's why Emma's. That's why she's not there in the final battle. Jasmine's now worried because that means she knows Aladdin's a savior. So she probably thought Aladdin died now. Maybe Aladdin died. So there's the diamond in the rough. It's hanging on the double-edged sword that's balanced on top of a stick. And if you take the crystal off, it's going to cause a chain of events. Mhm. Well, this is why you should touch nothing but the lamp, right? The diamond in the rough. That's the Naboo touched that, and it caused lava this time. Luckily, once upon a time's not that stupid. Lava's not coming, but it's causing the whole cave to collapse on them. So Aladdin so with the whole cave falling on top of them, Aladdin uses his magic to stop it. And Aladdin didn't know he had magic. Emma didn't know until like after the curse broke. So that's cool. Plot twist, the whole test to find the diamond in the rough was to set Aladdin on his path of saviorship. And he passed the test, so now he's the savior of Agrabah, and he's forced to save people's happy endings now, just like Emma. So yeah, yep, there you go. Prophecy fulfilled. Not really. He still has to die, but anyway, every savior needs a villain, and every savior, and that's Jafar for Aladdin. It'd be better if the evil queen was Emma's savior, actually. I mean, the villain, Emma's villain. Sorry, not savior. I mean, there was one point in season 5 where Emma was the villain and Regina had to be the savior. So Jasmine's kind of upset because now she knows the prophecy and she thinks Aladdin's dead. Aladdin and Emma have something in common. They were both thieves. They were just living their life. And then a Jasmine, like Henry, a little boy or a future wife shows up and brings them to Storybrooke or takes them to the Cave of Wonders where they are destined to be the savior. So Henry did set Emma on the path just like Jasmine did Aladdin. And now they're both having regrets because, they didn't know saviors were supposed to die. So they would have left Emma in New York. They would have or Boston, and they would have left Aladdin to his thievery. And, if they knew this, they would have, if they would go, maybe, but, the lesson here is that if you could go back and change the past, would you? Probably not, it's what makes you the person you are today. And so, if I was there, I would tell Henry and Jasmine that it was meant to be. This is their destiny, and I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Anyway, so Snow White, Emma's pretty much in timeout right now, and Snow White's trying to explain why you shouldn't hide things from your family. Secrets are what tear families apart. So never to keep a secret from your family. If you're struggling with something, make sure you talk to your parents, talk to a loved one. Do not try to hold it to yourself. Anyway, now we're on the Evil Queen and the Wicked Witch. They're working together. Exactly. So you better not let the baby die, Jiminy Cricket, because if the baby dies, you die. Right? So the Wicked Witch is upset because she did again had another fight with Regina not too long ago, and Evil Queen's gonna try to make it all better by taking her to a spa. Cute. Yeah, so they're talking about having sex with Rumpelstiltskin or something like that, trying to smooch with him, and he's like, Regina's like, "Oh yes, have you?" I'm like, "Wicked Witch almost did once, I guess." That's what she said. Don't remember her ever loving Rumple in flashback. Actually, she did. That's what caused her to use the slippers. She's like, "I could have took you to your son, but you chose Regina." And so anyway, she did love Rumple, but they never smooched together. Ever, ever. Those wicked days never have to be over, Regina, the evil queen says. And so, um, man, man, man. So anyway, those wicked days don't have to be over. I mean, come on, we just saw her help Cora move on. I mean, like in the underworld, she kind of got a redemption arc. I hate for the Wicked Witch to throw it all away. We love Wicked versus Evil. We love seeing that, but that's not interesting. We want to see her to try to be good, right? Well, I guess that depends on the viewer, I guess. You want to see Wicked Witch stay evil and try to kill Regina, or do we want to see them become sisters and best friends? You might like Wicked versus Evil, but even if that ends, you can always rewatch old episodes of when she was evil. You don't have to keep her evil just to enjoy that. Anyway, she can be good. So apparently, the evil queen made a potion, and we don't have anything of Aladdin's to try to find. But anyway, so a location spell would not work. But Regina made a different kind of location spell. A spell that can link light magic, and since Emma and Aladdin were both saviors and they have so much in common, it can help us find Aladdin through the savior magic. And so all Emma has to do is drink it. And so Emma drinks it, and we're gonna find Aladdin through savior magic. Anyway, Aladdin, after just finding out he was the diamond in the rough, or back in the flashback, Aladdin doesn't know if he wants to be the savior of Agrabah. He's too scared, of what's to come and what it means to save people from evil. And so anyway, Jasmine's just reminding him as I believe in you. You can do this. You can be the savior. And Jasmine's encouragement helps Aladdin. Until Jafar shows up after she leaves. Jafar's okay with Aladdin destroying him. That's funny. Villains usually don't like that. Usually, you should find a savior threatening, right? Jafar doesn't find this at all threatening at all. I wonder why. So Aladdin now, right after becoming the savior, Aladdin gets a vision of his future death, and not from the girl oracle, but from the bird itself. So anyway, we never got a flashback, but I wonder how the lady became the oracle and found the bird. Like, it used to just be the bird. So how did the lady become an oracle? Too bad there's no flashback to explain that. So plot twist: there is no escape. There is an alternative plan in Once Upon a Time. Not in the real life savior, but in Once Upon a Time, there's an alternative plan. There's these safety scissors where if you don't want to be the savior and sacrifice your life for everyone, you can just use these scissors to cut your fate and your destiny. And that doesn't mean literally cutting your body. But it's like I've seen the rest of the show. I know how it works. I don't know how to explain it. But when you open the scissors, a light of magic string comes out. And it's a magic that ties to, whoever opens the scissors. And anyway, and so the string goes from your like body to the scissors. And then you have a choice to either snap those scissors and cut yourself from being the savior, or like you just keep them open and decide to face your death. So anyway, it's scissors that can that can take away your savior prophecy, and that way you don't have to be the savior and save everyone. Anyway, so yes, so Jafar persuades Aladdin to never be the savior and use the scissors to cut her fate, to cut his fate, and so anyway, Jafar, thinking that Aladdin abandoned Jasmine and decided not to be the savior, is now doing whatever he wants because he doesn't have Aladdin to stop him. So see, Jafar attacks Agrabah and puts Jasmine in a in an hourglass until she drowns. So yeah, now you know it happens in the movie. It happens in the TV show as well, like the movie. Jasmine's trapped in an hourglass, and Aladdin's coming on a magic carpet to save her. Yeah, so Aladdin Aladdin decides not to use the scissors and defeats Jafar. And he's like, I don't care what price I have to pay to pay it. I don't care if I die. I'm going to be the savior and stop you. Good job, Aladdin. So Jafar, instead of trying to take over Agrabah, he has a new plan now. His new evil plan is to torture Aladdin so much that he will use the scissors. Because remember in the flashback we saw in the first episode of the season, he didn't want to be the savior anymore. He decided to just die on the spot and get it over with. And so anyway, and he had that shaky hand, right? After years of saving Agrabah, just like years of saving Storybrooke, and it wasn't easy. And then anyway, Jafar, he is right about one thing. He's like, one day you will use those scissors, and one day you will realize that today was no victory, even though he thinks it is a victory. He's like, no. Aladdin may say he wants to die. He doesn't matter if he has to die saving Agrabah. He says that now, but we know when eventually he gives up. So it's good to know where it started, though. Just like with Once Upon a Time, Emma came to Storybrooke and accepted her role as the savior, and now she doesn't want to be the savior, just like Aladdin didn't after years of saving Agrabah. So our Once Upon a Time show is similar to Aladdin and Jasmine's story, except we're not going to spend 6 seasons exploring their adventures because we already know what it's like with Emma. There's a look. They're entering. They're entering a tomb of graves. Crypt. Yep. They're going into a cemetery crypt to find the Aladdin's dead body. Yeah. Jasmine is now have to accepting Aladdin's death because like they're under a cemetery right now with a bunch of dead skeletons, and if this is where the location spell has led us, that means Aladdin might be one of the dead skeletons. Jasmine is not willing, not believing all this, and is trying to still find Aladdin. But she finds, one of the things she gave Aladdin was the little pin, savior pin that she gave him from the Cave of Wonders. She gave him a little pin to remind him of being the savior, and she finds the pin on top of a skeleton. Yeah, because she gave him that little pin, that little savior pin. So Jasmine's now accepting that Aladdin died, being the savior. Does this mean Emma's gonna die? Henry's upset because he doesn't want to lose his mother either. Jasmine's walking out. Regina's helping her. Hook is a little upset too because he wants a future with Emma and probably wants to put a ring on it. But if they want to get married, they better hurry soon. They better hurry and up their relationship before Emma dies. This is important. This is what I talked about in previous live streams. Okay, this scene right here. Emma's having visions of her future, and she has a talk with her son Henry. There's something about this marathon that's in this scene right here. Quiet. Stop the commentary for a second. Listen to this. That should be put in a general conference talk, like right there. That was really well sentimented, like both physically and spiritually. Like, okay, so okay, we find out that Aladdin's alive now. So, but before they showed us that he's alive, back when we thought he was dead, let me say this: Henry regrets, knocking on Emma's door all those years ago in season one, right? And he regrets taking Emma to Storybrooke, breaking the curse, and Emma's like, Emma's like, you know, I'm glad you came into my life. I'm glad you brought me to Storybrooke. But Henry's like, that won't stop the future, though. But it gave me a family. you know, and it gave me you. I'm your mother. It gave me Hook. Emma has a lot of love in her life now. She used to be an orphan. She used to have nobody. But Henry changed it and helped her believe in magic and fairy tales, and it was the best thing that ever happened to her. Henry's like, this is not fair though, that you get to die in the end, and Emma brings up a very important role. Like in real life, yeah, we believe that there is no end, like life is forever. But in a fictional story, all things come to an end. Even Once Upon a Time has an end. And so it's like when you watch TV shows and movies, Emma brings something very important when it comes to marathoning things. And she's like, let's not worry about the end of the story. Let's not worry about the end of this marathon because these live streams won't go on forever. They will end. And like, on what to do on my channel once this show's over, I have no idea. But uh there's other marathons we could do. But anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but Emma says this: "Let's not worry about the end of the story. Endings usually suck. Let's enjoy the middle, the adventure together. Let's not worry because once it's over, and you're gonna regret worrying about it. Let's enjoy the middle. Let's not focus on the end. Let's enjoy what time we have left of the show. Enjoy the middle, guys. Enjoy the middle." I said that a lot in like season 5, season 4. I said it was in a later episode of season 6, and I didn't want to spoil. But now we've gone to that episode to the point where it's not spoiling for you guys. So now this is the episode I was talking about all along through the entire marathon. Like let's not worry about the middle. I mean, let's not worry about the end. Let's enjoy the middle, the adventure together, guys. This is fun. I've enjoyed doing this for the past year. All right. So we found out Aladdin's alive, and in the flashback, Jasmine was thanking him for saving Agrabah. And obviously, she's happy that Aladdin chose the path of being the savior, but she's also happy that she's now free from Jafar. So unfortunately, Jafar has another evil plan up his scheme, and he left Aladdin a little note, and he left him with the scissors, on the note it said, "You may not want to be the savior now and save everyone's happy endings, but one day you'll see that I'm right. One day you'll use these when the tide of storms are getting closer, or when the final battle is getting closer. You'll see that you won't want to be the savior anymore." Like kind of note, kind of trying to dis- dismay his hope a little bit, and you know, plot twist. We know by the beginning of season 6, Aladdin does end up using the scissors, but at least that by the end of the flashback, he still chooses not to listen to Jafar's warning. He threw that note away, and is still being the savior. But we know years down the road he stops. Anyway, Henry's trying to convince now that Aladdin has revealed that he used the scissors on himself. Henry is now telling Aladdin that he should go to Jasmine, and anyway, see. Yep. So plot twist. Aladdin and Jasmine never got married or got together. Like the movie, they got married. They got together. Have you seen the Aladdin has 3 Disney movies, and if you've seen the third one, they get married after Aladdin finds his father, right? Anyway, that did not happen in Once Upon a Time. Duty always got in the way. So Jasmine and Aladdin never stayed together. But Aladdin did continue to help saving Agrabah, even if he never formed a relationship with Jasmine. But as Henry advised Aladdin, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to start. Start loving Jasmine again. Fall in love, get married. You didn't do that in the past, but that doesn't mean you can't do it in the present. So Aladdin listens to Henry. So Henry helped Emma, and now Henry's helping Aladdin. Except not to be the savior, right? Because he decided not to accept that fate. Anyway, Jasmine is like, "We need the savior. Aladdin's in danger." I mean, Agrabah's in danger. Aladdin's in danger. Agrabah's in danger. We need the savior. And Aladdin's like, "I'm not the savior anymore." Plot twist to Jasmine. Jasmine didn't know. Anyway, yes. So plot twist. The Wicked Witch is now choosing the evil queen, so she's going back to her wicked days. How sad. I hope Regina stops her. Anyway, but anyway, instead of killing Archie, she's turning Archie back into Jiminy Cricket. He's an actual cricket again in a cage over her baby over Robin's crib. So yes, she says killing Archie is too evil for her, but trapping him in a cage is wicked enough. Determining that evil and wicked are two different things. Wicked means you're just doing bad stuff to people. Evil means you're actually breaking the law, killing them. Anyway, so Emma, so Aladdin didn't trust the people he loved. He didn't trust Jasmine. He ended up using the scissors, and he decided not to accept his fate. Hmm. So again, Emma broke her family's trust by hiding the savior secret, and obviously obviously learning from her mistake. She tells Aladdin not to keep the secret from Jasmine anymore. Tell her that you're not the savior anymore, and tell her why you chose not to be the savior because you were gonna die. Blah. And luckily Aladdin's now being honest, but Emma had to learn that. Well, Aladdin learned that the hard way, actually. Emma did not. She chose to be honest after only lying for only a few episodes. Aladdin lied for years. Anyway, anyway, she apologizes for keeping the secret with her family, and yeah, she was about to build a future with Hook, which could be tamperized now that she kept a secret from him. Anyway, Hook decides to forgive Emma and continue their relationship. But anyway, she's like, "I'm sorry I didn't trust you. I'm trusting you now. Take these scissors, hide them, right? If they fall into the wrong hands, something bad could happen." Hook is now lying to Emma. This is why they're a perfect couple. Because first Emma lies, now Hook's gonna lie. And that ends our night episode. But anyway, so just to catch up to speed. Um, so so anyway, Emma tells her family and apologizes about keeping the secret. And so anyway, she chooses not to use the scissors because unlike Aladdin, Aladdin didn't trust the people he loved. Emma trusts her family enough to be like, let's find a third way. I'm not going to stop myself from being the savior. I'm going to continue the prophecy and not cut myself from my destiny. I'm going to choose to die for everyone if that's what it means. But I believe we could find a third way behind this prophecy. I believe we can find a third way. You know, I don't see any other way. I've seen how this all plays out, and I know how they avoid the final battle. But for the sake of people who are watching this for the first time and my live stream, which is fine. I'll try my best not to give spoilers, but just to warn you, there might be spoilers. Best thing to do is watch the episode first and then my live stream. But anyway, just in case there are new people who haven't got this far into season 6, I'm just gonna say that from this point, not knowing how they're gonna avoid the final battle, when I was watching this for the first time, the only way I could see them avoiding this was possibly faking her death, which does not happen, by the way. I'm not going to tell you to avoid spoilers. I'm not going to tell you what happens. But anyway, but like I honestly thought that okay, she's gonna have to fake her death or something, because anyway, or because unfortunately the vision is true. It's not lying. So how do you avoid it? The only thing I thought about when I first saw this on the air, like 10 years ago in 2016, I thought, okay, she's gonna fake her death, and well, I was wrong. But anyway, that's just what I thought. What are your for those, even if you have seen this like I have, what were your thoughts when you got into this episode? What were your thoughts of her? How did you think they were gonna solve this? Like, did you think they were gonna, whoever her killer is, did you think they were gonna kill them first, or what were your thoughts? I don't know. Anyway, it was always interesting how they were gonna avoid this, right? And plus, sadly, this is not a half season arc. This takes the entire season, so you don't find out till the end of the season whether she dies or not in the final battle. So anyway, but Emma believes that she'll find a third way, and so that's why she's not using the scissors, right? And it's kind of funny how Regina makes the joke, they're literal scissors. How is magic so literal? You don't have to use literal scissors. You could use that as a metaphor. Anyway, they're literal scissors. Scissors are real. They're a real world thing. The only thing that makes it fiction is that they're magical scissors. Instead of cutting paper, you're cutting your destiny. Like let me put it this way. Like being religious myself, we all know that God has a plan for us. Imagine using scissors to cut yourself from that plan. So I bet no one righteous would want to use those, because we all want to follow the Lord's plan. But anyway, that's what it's like. Cutting your scissors prevents you from being the savior. anyway, so I thought that was interesting. So yeah, and then the episode ends where Hook is now lying to Emma. Emma lied to Hook about the vision. Now Hook, being the counter partner of Emma, luckily, hopefully Hook's not going to be the one that tears the relationship apart, because Emma's apologizing for keeping a secret, and now Hook's going to make the same mistake. Yep, Emma trusted Hook to bury those scissors under the sea, deep down where no one can find them. But Hook doesn't hide them after all. Hook just puts them in his pocket. And anyway, yep, that betrays Emma's trust for sure. Anyway, so yes, they have relationship issues. They have a hard time trusting each other, apparently. Anyway, yeah, but technically that's what Emma would have done, because we've seen her keep the vision secret. So anyway, they're perfect for each other because they both like keeping secrets, which don't do if you're a loved one. If you're one of those, if you have a girlfriend or a spouse, don't try to keep secrets from them. That's just going to make things worse. Anyway, that's it for tonight. We got 8 minutes. There's no questions though. The only comments I see are the ones that my mom sent earlier. So, but yeah, we still got 8 minutes left of the stream technically. So let's see. Let me recap the episode for you. So so Aladdin went on a quest with Jasmine to find the diamond in the rough, right? The cave is not a real monster. It's just a statue, because it's live action. What do you expect? You could use CGI to make the monster live action, but this was before the live action movie came out, so who knows if they had the technology back then. But Aladdin soon realizes that he's the diamond in the rough, and he's the savior that will save Agrabah. Jasmine, helping Aladdin fulfill this prophecy, encourages him to be a hero and stop stealing from people in Agrabah. And so that's what Aladdin does. He becomes the savior, and Jafar tries to trick him in using the scissors to cut himself from his fate, but he refuses. And then Jafar, hoping that he wouldn't refuse, gets disappointed when he's defeated, and after trapping Jasmine in a glass, and almost dying, Aladdin comes to save the day. And, Jafar gets arrested. And anyway, he just, he leaves. But anyway, he sends Aladdin a note saying, you may want to be the savior now, but just wait. Just wait when you find out how real this vision really is, just wait when the storms and tides come into Agrabah, you'll regret this decision, blah blah blah. And we learn from the first episode, which is titled "The Savior." Anyway, we find out that he is depressed and down, and he finds out Jafar was right, and he doesn't. We don't see him use the scissors specifically, but he decides he just wants to die and get it over with. He's too miserable to be alive. He pretty much wants to commit suicide. And Jafar's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I want to see you suffer forever and ever, as long as you live. Anyway, so yeah, but then the only reason we confirm that he used the scissors is because he told Emma that he used the scissors and decided not to be the savior anymore. But yeah, too late now. He can't get his destiny back because the mantle's on Emma now. Emma's the savior now. You can't be the savior anymore. You should have accepted your destiny when you had the chance. But anyway, it's not too late to be a normal hero. I'm not treating Emma as unnormal. Being the savior doesn't mean you're not normal. I mean, people with magic, it's just like black and white. And it's just like blacks and whites, women's rights and men's rights. Everyone should be treated equally, right? Just because you have magic doesn't mean you're more powerful. Anyway, so I don't mean normal. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I mean ordinary. You mean like you don't have magic, Aladdin can still be a hero even without magic. This is what I'm saying. Everyone's treated equally. You don't need magic to save people's happy endings. So Aladdin can still save Agrabah even without being the savior. And that's what Jasmine's trying to convince him to do. Save Agrabah without being the savior. Except they're stuck in Storybrooke, so they have to find a way back first. But anyway, yes, Jafar did take over Agrabah. So, and since Jasmine has been in the land of untold stories for at least 40 years, yeah, Agrabah must be in its worst shape. Anyway, because of Jafar. So yes, they have to go back and save Agrabah, but in the meantime, they're stuck in Storybrooke. So anyway, Aladdin is choosing to be a hero, even he regrets using those scissors, but he knows he could still be a hero even without being the savior. Anyway, but there may not be a savior of Agrabah, but there's still a savior of Storybrooke, and technically that's still not true because Aladdin can still. He might not be the savior, but he can still be a savior of Agrabah. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, technically, I guess you could still say Aladdin is the savior, but he's not magically wise. Anyway, but yeah, Emma's the savior now. Uh, she's in charge of saving Storybrooke in the real world, which is I think more interesting than watching a show where Aladdin is saving Agrabah. I think the one thing that appealed to audiences to the show was the fact that it was in the real world and the fairy tale characters were real people. That's what was intriguing. If it was all in Agrabah, I don't know how many people would watch it. I don't know if the show would have lasted as long as it did. I don't know if it would make it to season 6. So I'm glad they chose this premise over Aladdin. Plus, who would want to see a story of a savior who decides not to be the savior? I mean, obviously, if that's what they chose, they would have changed the script where Aladdin stayed the savior, and maybe Emma chose not to. But anyway, it would have been the other way around. But the reason why they chose the real world setting over Agrabah, I think was a good option. A whole 6 seasons in Agrabah, I don't know if I would watch that. And again, I will admit, it's not the fairy tale characters transported to the real world that intrigue me about this show. Because you all know I didn't watch till the 3rd season, right? It was Pam being a villain. It was making some of our heroes a villain. It was making some of our fairy tale characters a villain. Peter Pan, Arthur. These people were heroes in the Disney version. But anyway, that's what intrigued me. But then going back to watch season 1 and 2 later, I could kind of see why other people liked it for season 1. So anyway, yes, I do agree that being in the real world is more intriguing than Agrabah. So, all right, and then yeah, so yeah, I think that sums up that episode. Emma gets more therapy from Archie, and Evil Queen disguising as Archie. Exploits Emma's secret to her family. It causes a family drama, family relationships are broken, but Emma, at the end of the episode, apologizes and mends those family relationships. So that's a lesson. Never keep secrets from your loved ones. Um, anyway, and then Henry and Jasmine are able to connect because they both are responsible for making Emma and Aladdin the savior, but in reality they're not responsible at all. They chose the path on their own. Luckily Aladdin's not dead though, so that makes Jasmine happy. Only she's probably a little disappointed that he chose not to be the savior. Anyway, Emma's not going to make that same mistake though. She's going to face her destiny. Um And then there was one more thing that happened that I forgot. What was it? There's one more thing that happened in the show. Oh yeah, they turned Archie into an actual cricket again. He's never in the real world. He was never a cricket. He was only a cricket in the Enchant Forest. The Blue Fairy changed him into that. But in the real world, where there's no magic, he's a human, right? Obviously. Well, Rumple brought magic to this town back in season 2, but some reason he didn't turn back into a cricket. Anyway, the Wicked Witch turned him into a cricket in the real world for the first time, and though he didn't kill the baby and he was a good babysitter, she's still a little wicked. She decided to torture him, not by killing him, but by trapping him in a cage as a cricket, watching the Wicked Witch's daughter. So the heroes are going to have to try to save Jiminy Cricket now, because he's captured by the Evil Queen and the Wicked Witch, and man, the Wicked Witch is really backtracking her redemption arc from the underworld and really going back to being evil versus wicked. Oh my goodness. Not really, because she's teaming up with the Evil Queen. It's really just wicked versus good now, because it's not wicked versus evil. Regina's no longer the Evil Queen, so you're not exactly getting what you want anyway. So why is the Wicked Witch throwing away her redemption arc, right? Well, it's 9:30 now. I had nothing else to say. I remember it was like 9:28 when I said I had one more thing to say. If I didn't have that one more thing to say, I was going to be like, well, guys, I'm just going to stay silent till 9:30. No need. I ended up talking my way through. So we're just going to end the live stream now. I hope you guys have a great week, a great day. God be with you till we meet again. Next week, we have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's a Disney movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Watch that movie before next week, because that's going to come to Once Upon a Time. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Then we get the untold story of Snow White and Charming, which I know it's weird because they've been in the show for 6 seasons. What untold story could they have? And then finally, we get the Mirror Mirror on the Wall untold story. If you think what I know you're thinking, no, Sydney Glass does not come back to the show, but the mirror does. The magic mirror does. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Someone else is going to be the mirror. So find out next week who that will be. And until then, have a great week. Have a great day. God be with you till we meet again. Bye, y'all.